Can you imagine if somebody started doing comedy now for us here? We'd be pissed off. It's amazing. You'll become a comedy legend. You'll change your life. All these men think they're George Carlin, that they're going to go out there and their opinion is real and really matters. That's the thing. If you want to do comedy and you're 40 like me, don't have kids. That's so brave of me to admit, isn't it?
Hello everyone, welcome to a very special episode this week. I believe a bonus episode is what they call it in the trade, and now that we're podcasters, I think we can say that too, Aideen. There's no guest with us this week. Instead, we're having a chat between the two of us because actually I have some questions that I want to ask to the one and the only Aideen McQueen. So Aideen, I have a question that I know you love answering, and you absolutely love when people ask you this question. So can I just ask, what is it like to be a woman in comedy?
I'm glad that you asked me that. Thank you very much, Louise. So, what is it like to be a woman in comedy? Well, I've never experienced being a man in comedy, unfortunately. But to be honest, at the moment, being a woman comedy is great. There's loads of opportunities for non-binary acts, female acts, queer acts, gay acts, trans acts. In fact, people actively encourage you to do comedy if you don't identify as a straight white man. So it's great. So mathematically, okay, let's look at the statistics. About 10% of comedians are women, which you'd be shocked that it's so low. But if you go to an open mic or a gong show, you could have 13 guys and one girl on.
So can you explain to people what a gong show is?
Okay, so when you start off comedy, you have to do these things called open mics. And you just go in, and there's loads of people who don't really do comedy. There could be other comedians that are trying to try out material. Standard could be appalling, or it could be brilliant, and you try out your material. And a gong show is even more horrific than that. That's where you get maybe 90 seconds of time, and then people have like buzzers or banners or flyers, and they'll just go if they don't like you, and it's horrifically bad for your self-esteem. But if you pass the gong, then you get to go and do 5 minutes in the club, and if you pass the 5 minutes, you get to do 10 until eventually you're Jimmy Carr. So that's supposedly how it works.
Career path.
Yeah.
It's a few gongs and then some arenas.
It's horrific. I mean, I don't think any other job would have such a lethal, painful process. I can't imagine, like, in teaching, like, you have to teach for 90 seconds. Yeah. And then they're like, no, that was rubbish. You did the times table, it's terrible. So there's mostly men do comedy. For some reason, men seem to be attracted to it because men feel like, yeah, I can get up on stage and everyone will listen to me and I can tell truth to power. But at the moment, most clubs, not all, some of them are still traditional, but most of them will want at least one woman or one non-male presenting act on. So 10% are women, 25% of the gigs are for women. So you do the maths because I can't, but it's good. I find it much easier now, especially since after #MeToo and after lockdown, to get gigs. I don't find I have to chase them. I find word gets around, oh, there's a woman, she's good, we'll get her.
And when you say it's around 10% of comedians are women, is that the same across all levels? Like at the entry level kind of gong shows versus...
Yeah, no, later on it's probably more women because women will stay the course because they get more gigs, I think, and they're encouraged. But when I started, no, it was always just men. So it depends, but yeah, it's 10 to 15% max are women.
And now, for anyone who doesn't follow your career as closely and is a little online stalker like me, you are a full-time professional comedian. That is your job, your calling, your vocation.
Yeah, that's my gig. But I'm not famous, as everyone says to me when I say I'm a comedian. But are you famous? I'm like, well, if you have to ask, then that's your answer. So, yeah, that's what I do. I'm what they call a club comedian, which is a nice way of saying a non-famous comedian. So I'm like the equivalent of a musician who does cover bands all nights of the week, or wedding singer or something. So I was gigging in Wicklow last night. Emma Doran was doing a preview show. I go around to the UK. I will do bar mitzvahs, weddings, funerals, whatever you want comedy for, I will do it. I have an agent. He gets me the weirdest gigs. Sometimes I do presenting work. I just do whatever people give me. and I do a bit of teaching of it as well. So anything that I can get money for, which is great because I'm passionate about it. Obviously, I'd love to be on TV. I'd love to have viral videos, but that has not been the path that I have been led down yet.
Yet, not
Yeah.
yet. And when you think about when you started out, it doesn't sound like a very inviting atmosphere that you were jumping into. So what made you try it?
Okay, so I used to work for the Cats Laugh Festival when I was a teenager as a volunteer
In
in
Kilkenny.
Kilkenny, the best comedy festival ever. And or so I thought at the time. And you saw the most amazing comedians. Like we were hanging out with Dylan Moran when we were 17, Phil Kay, um, Bill Bailey. So it was exciting. I loved the lifestyle. I thought this is fun. I just wanted to do it. I wanted to hang out with them. They were drinking all the time and they were drinking in the daytime and everybody seemed so irreverent and cool and everybody's hair was really long at the time. And I wanted that. I didn't want to be a comedian, but I wanted the lifestyle. I was always really attracted to it. And we had such fun. But so I wanted that lifestyle. Now, I didn't realize that this doing a festival is a tiny part of a comedian's life. The festivals are great fun. You're treated like a king or a queen or a non binary monarchy deity. You're just, it's brilliant. You've got the hotel, everything's catered for. You get a taxi from the airport, but that happens a few times a year. And most of the time, you're just on a bus on your own or a train going to Milton Keynes to do a 60th birthday party for €300 cash or £300 cash. So it's not quite as glamorous. But yeah, no, I wanted the lifestyle. I thought, oh my God, comedians are so cool. If I could just be part of that. So then I became friends with Eleanor Tiernan, who's a really good comic, and she encouraged me to do it. And I was like, really? Okay, I'll try. And I did my first open mic in the Halfpenny in Dublin, and I was absolutely shit. Like, there's no doubt about it. I don't know what I talked about. I completely blacked out. I was so dressed up. I had more material in my bra than my jokes. When that dressing up for comedy isn't good, people aren't going to be like, oh, look at that glamorous, hilarious woman. Nobody says that. So I did it, but I just got enough laughs. There was two women that got me, and that's all you really need. You just need two women,
Just two women.
just in life.
Two
Anyway,
women, that's all you need.
yeah. So I kept doing it and kept doing it. I became addicted to it. It was also around the time I stopped drinking for the first time. So I replaced drink with comedy. And you'd go out to these open mics, you'd meet these people. It's a whole community, like community of weirdos, but in a good way. And I just kept inching, inching forward. I definitely wasn't a prodigy at the start. I'm still not. Everything I'm good about comedy, I've done the hard way. Like, there's two ways of being good at comedy: be brilliant at the start, or just do it for years until you're eventually good.
And you think you were in the do it for years camp?
100%. Yeah. Although, having said that, I think when I started comedy first, people are always saying to me, we don't know who you are. We don't know what your vibe is, We don't know, like, obviously you're gorgeous, but what's the vibe? They didn't say that. But so they were always saying you have to get this persona, which people never say to men. Like, because when we think of comedian, we think of a big, fat, confident man on stage with a microphone. So I was always being kind of questioning myself and who am I and why am I coming out on stage. I watched a video of myself from 9 years ago in Scotland. I was like, that's really good. Why
Aw.
did I question myself so much? It was
Aw.
really funny. It's still funny. I had all this stuff about sexy dictators and posters, and it was a bit weird and quirky. And I totally channeled myself to be this more commercial thing that I thought was good. So, advice for women is don't listen to people who say, we don't know what you are. Are you a sexy girl? Are you a nerdy girl? Are you a bolshy girl? Be yourself. That's all you can do. Nobody's saying that to men, right? They're just saying, you are a man. Well done. Get up on stage. Be yourself. Find what you find is funny and surround yourself by people who you find funny and that they find you funny. Don't listen to anybody that either you don't find funny or that they don't find you funny, that they don't get it. A lot of the problem, I think, is, and this is a total generalization, but often if people are more on their feminine side, they are more empathetic. Okay. So and I'm going to use the word man and woman in a general way, like whatever you identify with most in your spirit. Okay. So when a man goes on stage and he goes, oh, the dog bit me in the balls, right? The men will laugh And the women will be like, well, I can empathize. That must be hilarious. Oh, God. But when a woman goes up on stage and said, oh, I just got kicked in the gi, the women will empathize. The men will go, oh, that's disgusting. I don't have a gi. I don't want to know about it. So they will not relate. Men find it more difficult to relate to women's ideas.
Women's
Yeah,
experiences.
women's experiences. But now, I mean, you could kind of say, well, don't worry about the men. I mean, look at there's Joanne McNally, like almost all women at her show. Fair play to her. There's Emma Doran I opened for last night. It was almost all women, big groups of women. Like they don't care if the men don't laugh, and it's fantastic going in there. So remember that, you know, that when you have a night that you're on in an open mic, there's like five lads at the back and they just don't get you because they're men. They don't care. And I mean hashtag not all men, but that's the vibe. So stick to your guns if you're a female comedian. Stick to what you find funny. Stick to what makes your friends laugh. Okay, go for it. Even if you have to take a loss, we're focused on the people that are laughing and build that crowd.
And I suppose that's where social media can play a role then, because if you know if what you find funny or what makes other people laugh is kind of niche or quirky, if you were in a small city, then there's obviously only a limited amount of people who could see that live. But then I guess if you're able to put that online, you can find those people who find that funny
Yeah,
everywhere.
100%. So I've done one video really that's gone
Ever.
viral. Yeah,
Just one.
just one. I did a few things. I did a little soap opera with my ex, and I did a few little things during lockdown. But I put one video of my comedy out, and it went viral, and that was a bit I have about how little penises are better, and 1.5 million views. Thank you very much, Facebook. Nobody was really commenting, or the comments were very short, and it wasn't translating to that many follows, a few hundred. And then I looked where the views are, predominantly Asia, predominantly Asian
Okay.
men sharing this video. So I was like, this is not my target market. They can't come to my gigs. But I will put out more videos. But yeah, it's brilliant if you can reach out to somebody about your very specific, like your ADHD humor or your autism humor or your consensually non-monogamous polyamorous vibes. And then you get these crowds. And there's these huge comedians now, and they come out to the Olympia. I'm like, I've never heard of this
Yeah.
person before. Oh, they're the TikTok
The
tight
TikTok.
trousers, TikTok, the TikTok
The
tight,
TikTok.
the TikTok t-shirt. But there's really niche stuff. So that's good. So find your niche and embrace it, which is the brilliant thing about social media. Before you had to do the clubs, you had to go to the top of the club, then hopefully some Harvey Weinstein type person would see you and he'd pluck you from obscurity and put you on the BBC, and then you'd be doing Nevermind the Buzzcocks, and then you could have a career. But now you can do it yourself.
And after all that, how would you describe your comedy persona now?
It's pretty much similar to how I am. I would say deluded, positive, ditzy. I go and touch the people in the audience. I don't ask for consent. I do ask for consent. I just have fun. Years of doing comedy, I didn't realize that you had to have fun. I took it very seriously, and I was like, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to hit all these marks, and I listened to everybody else. And then I realized if I'm not having fun, they're not having fun. So I just go up and have fun now. Also, I get paid. But it also helps when you have like a few banker jokes in the locker that this will work. I can deliver it when I'm sick. I can deliver it like in my sleep. I could just give it to them on a card and it would work. So you have that confidence going in.
Yeah.
Still sometimes have stinkers though at Christmas.
Tell me about the last big stinker.
So I was doing a corporate gig, and they offered me 500 quid. It was in.
And does that mean that you go into like a company's
It
party or
can,
something?
yeah,
Or
it can often do that, or sometimes a corporate would be like a 60th birthday
okay,
of just people with a bit of money. But this was Hull Rugby Club fundraiser,
okay,
and Hull is miles away. And I wanted to do this other cool gig in London that had more possibility of getting into better clubs. So I just said, look, career wise, long term, it's better to do the one in London. And then I said it to him, and the power of saying no. So I was just like, listen, I'm sorry, I don't want to do it, but thank you. And when you don't need something, so they said, we'll give you 1,000 for it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this. This is £1,000. Yes. In the Hilton Hotel. Great. So I went up and did it. And it was just all the rugby people and their wives. That's how I would describe it. And everybody was eating dinner. They were all chatting away. They did not want this mad Irish woman interrupting their meal. And the organizer loved comedy. He was really into it. He was like, "Oh yeah, you know, Dylan Moore has some of the same since Monster," and he had all the chat. But everybody else just no,
Like, what is this?
no. What are you doing? So nobody was listening. I was trying to get them. I was like, "Yeah, come on, guys, woo, woo, woo!" But I was about as welcome there, like as a camp leader, like at nighttime. It was just totally jarring. So then um, your man said what we'll do now is last year this is what we did, because last year I think the special speaker had been like one of those Invictus Games guys with like no arms and
Okay.
no legs that inspired them, and even he kind of died in his arse. So he said we'll do a traditional thing from Hull. We're going to do a guess the weight competition.
A traditional thing
Yeah.
from Hull. I'm sorry, that's like the traditional
Yeah.
pastime. Extended
Yeah.
family comes around at Christmas and you all get the way the
Yeah.
scales out.
So I was like, oh, what? So yeah, we'll just get some of the lads to lift you up and guess what your weight is. And it's like, I don't really know my weight. So I was like, can we just do guess the age? Okay, guess the age. So they did a guess the age competition, and they all got it really, really accurately, except for the younger guys who didn't have a clue. And then I was like, okay, that's not great for my self esteem, but well done. And it was just I kept getting up on stage, I kept being ignored. Your man was there like, oh god, I've made a mistake. I just felt like I'm so sorry for taking your money, but I did.
Oh, good, especially
Yeah,
you did
yeah.
take the
Oh,
money.
100%. Yeah. So you still get stuff like that at Christmas, especially where the comedy is the idea of one really enthusiastic guy in the office, and everyone else is like, oh no, we should have just done karaoke instead.
Or it's not the right setting.
Yeah, it's
You
not.
know, it's like you said, if people are eating their dinner, they don't want to be quiet. They want to talk to who they're sitting next to.
Yeah,
So it is.
exactly, exactly. Can you imagine if somebody started doing comedy now for us here? We'd be pissed off.
So one of the things, Aideen, that maybe people don't see unless they're trying to pin you down in a place for a given time is just how much travel is involved with
Well,
this work, right? Because you're kind of going between, I don't know, it's bi-coastal in America. What is it here? Like by Brexit? I don't know. But that you're often between Ireland and England.
yeah, that's the thing. If you want to do comedy and you're 40 like me, don't have kids.
Sorry, that's so brave of you.
That's so brave of me to admit, isn't it? So I'm actually 41. I'm lying. So I travel so much because I find people with a good followings, the Killian Sundmans and the Shane Daniel Burns, who are just amazing, and they have got great videos out there. They can do the stuff in Ireland because they can do Vicar Street and the likes of that. But the likes of me, I travel to England all the time.
Likes me.
The likes of me, yeah. I travel to England all the time. I'm a member of the lounge. I go and get my free meal before I fly. I must do about 60 flights a year.
I thought you meant the laughter.
No, yeah, I am as well. I
They
am
give you
as
free
well.
dinners in the airport.
They
If
give
you
you
do the
free
laughter
dinners in the
lounge.
airport if you do the laughter lounge. So I travel loads, less and less now because I started my comedy school, and I'm doing more kind of corporate comedy teaching, so I don't have to go and do the Chuckle Hut and Hull as much anymore. And so I do a lot of
Sorry, the
traveling.
chuckle hut.
Yeah,
It's really hard to say quickly as
yeah,
well. Chuckle,
the
chuckle,
Chuckle
chuckle,
Hut and
chuckle,
Hull.
chuckle, chuckle.
Then yeah, I travel loads. I mean, I must spend about 6 grand on flights a year,
Okay.
but it's worth it. So there you go. A lot of traveling for me. But that's I've done it the hard way. I have take my advice because I'm not using it. If you start comedy, do videos straight away. I've noticed the people I'm teaching now, they're doing comedy to get the video.
Okay,
So
yeah.
they start recording themselves right away, putting the subtitles up, sharing the video, right? Don't do all the really difficult gigs that are miles away. Remember, your health is coming first. Put yourself first. You might think, oh, maybe I'll go up to Belfast to do a gig for 5 people and a sheep. No, don't. You'd be better off spending that time writing jokes, honing your material, talking and working with people that you find funny. Finding a writing partner that's a yes and person that really encourages you, is positive. So that'll cut out your time as well. And like I started comedy and I did a few open mics and I thought, sure, okay, what's next? And had I not been going out with a male comedian who was really determined and more successful and longer in the tooth than I was then, I would have just given up. but I saw how much he knocked on doors, how much he just appeared at gigs and stood there and asked for gigs, how many times he emailed people, and that inspired me. Like, so if you were like, I suppose this is for everybody, but there is a certain type of man, and this is, with all respect, is great, who just goes out, gets it. I want to be a comedian, and that's it. What do I need to do? I need to do this gig. I need to ask this person. I need to go there. Whereas I tend to be more like, oh, I suppose, do you mind if I kind of did a gig? Oh, thank you so much. So being really determined and going out there and pushing yourself forward. There's so many people that are unapologetic in comedy will do that, and most of them tend to be men. So embrace that. I deserve to be there. I deserve to be on the stage. People need to hear what I have to say. Men tend to talk more on stage about life in general, politics, observational stuff. Women tend to talk about relationships a lot on stage. And then we get typecast as we're just talking about relationships, which is fair enough because we often are just talking about relationships. But I think as a woman myself, and a lot of women, we don't realize we have opinions and stuff. We always think about stuff, but we don't have that kind of like, I'm going to speak truth to power attitude that men have. That all these men think they're George Carlin, that they're going to go out there and their opinion is real and really matters. So as a woman, and I have to tell myself as this, speak your truth, say your opinion. It's valid. You know, if you've thought it, you're not that unique.
Yeah,
Probably
someone
other
else is
people have
thinking it
thought it.
too.
Yeah, if you've had trouble in the Super Value car park, it's probably not just you. It's probably a lot of people, and you'll find your tribe.
So that's the niche you should be going for. People who are angry about super value car parks.
To be
Big
honest,
market. It's a big market.
it is. It's a big wealthy market. The Super Value people are cut above. They're the old Super Quinn people, you know.
Exactly. They've
That's
nowhere
the
to go.
that's the pound you want. Yeah.
Pound you want. You were talking there about online videos and things. One of the things I notice a lot is because there's almost this pressure on comedians then to constantly produce content, but often, you're not writing new jokes for every single gig you do. So what do you put online? And then it tends to be crowd work or interactions with the crowd. And I hear particularly American comedians talk about this, that then there's this pressure to do loads of crowd work at gigs to get a video that you can put online that isn't kind of giving away your set if people come to the gig the following week or month or whatever. Is that something you see as
Yeah,
well?
and that's starting to annoy MCs. So the MC is the person who goes up, introduces the show, talks to the crowd, and basically their job is to find the level. So they're like, you often wonder, why is the MC asking me what I do? Is he working for like social services? Like, relax. But they're kind of trying to find, is the crowd posh? Would they be more working class? Are they young? Are they old? Are they English speakers? Are they not English speakers? Will they be offended by stuff? And that's a really good MC will sort all that out and then do some material so that when you go up and do material, you don't seem like you're doing a little poem in the fesh competition. But nowadays, the MC will MC everybody, he'll rinse everybody in the audience, and then the act will go on and ask somebody, where are you from? What's your relationship? Blah, blah, blah. And the audience are exhausted. The MC is annoyed. The act is kind of not getting the same reaction because they've already been asked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to ask people at the back. That's not great for the video, you know.
Yeah.
Are you? How long have you been going out there? People at the back, you know.
Pass it up. Pass it
Yeah,
up. They said
yeah. So there is, yeah, it's starting to be a thing, and then it is kind of annoying when you go to a gig and you've been doing it years, and I'm like at the hard and old crone of comedy, you know. And I just want, it's my job. I want to get in, get out. And then there's some young lad like that you probably could have been babysitting a few years ago, and he's got this huge setup. Then he's got another camera for the other angle,
All right.
and then he goes up. It's all about the camera going up, hopping up and down. Then he's reading his notes, and it feels like the leaving cert. It's stressful. And then now this is all my issues. Obviously, I have to let go. And then they just like, that was so average. Like, why did you make this big deal out of everything? So it is. It's interesting. It's totally changed. When I started not doing comedy but watching comedy in the early noughties, there was, or in the late 90s as well, when I was in the Cat Laughs as a teenager, there was a real kind of freakish scene of comedians. There were people that couldn't actually do any other job. They were weird. If they weren't comedians, they probably would have been sword swallowers. You know, they would have been definitely on the dole. They might have been in special sheltered accommodation. These are the type of people that would get on a plane with no shoes. you know.
Yeah.
I have done that, by the way, so I am this person.
So
I'm
you're
not.
authentic.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
real comedian.
People, the 90s comedian was somebody who could not be a comedian. They were weird, like Phil Kay, who would just take off all his clothes during a set. Or, even Dylan Moran is still part of that because I couldn't believe he was exactly the same on stage as he was off
Mm.
stage. Just bumbling around. He asked me, I had my shoes, tying my shoes in. He's like, "What time is the shoe? I'm in the show." None of it is fake. So then there came a kind of a breed of people who were like, all right, I see these people on TV, they're making good money. I'm going to start doing it. They write jokes, they do courses, and I teach courses, so I'm part of the problem. And everything is very organized, and they come in with their notes before the gig, and it's all timed, and it made comedy kind of more generic. Like when I started off doing comedy, you could have like somebody doing mime.
Mm.
Then you might have this man, the rice man. He used to throw rice at people in the audience. That was his whole act. Rice, rice, rice. And half the people thought it was hilarious. Half the people thought, what is happening here? Then you'd have a character act. But now it's very much like everybody does observational comedy.
Mm.
Everybody does not similar, but there's not that huge variety in comedy like a comedian is with the microphone talking about their life. So
Mm-hmm.
it's become quite a bit narrow. So we'll see what happens in the future with it. But it's definitely a career now, whereas it wasn't a career years
Mm-hmm.
ago. It was, if you said to somebody I was going to be a comedian, that'd be the same as saying to them, I'm thinking of becoming that guy that swallows fire on Grafton Street. It would be like, okay, okay, fair enough. So it's changing.
Okay, and it is changing. It can be a career and hopefully one for more women.
Exactly. Yeah. So women, get on it. Get up there on stage. You can do my course if you want. Check it out.
Throw
Follow
some
me
rice
on.
if you feel like it.
Yeah. Be just whatever you want to do. Do it.
People would want to learn more about comedy. You have mentioned that
Oh,
you run a course.
did I mention that I
You
run a
may have
course?
mentioned
I
it, Aideen.
might have mentioned it. Well, you can get on the Crackden website, www.crackden.com/workshops. Just Google Comedy Den Crackden
We'll link it in
workshops.
the show
Yeah.
notes.
And I'll be starting another one in September, just FYI. I've already got 6 people booked up for it already. It's
Oh,
very
great.
popular.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Get on
Well,
it.
good luck.
I'm embracing my masculine showing off side now. Like, it's amazing. You'll become a comedy legend. You'll change your life.
Yeah, you don't mind university or anything.
No.
Just head to the Crackdown.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Aideen, for
very much,
sharing your
Louisa.
tips. I've learned a lot from this formal chat,
I'm glad
and
you
I hope
have.
you have too. For Mila Magad.
Fáilte rot agus feicimid tú ar ball.
Sure. Oh, also, I think, the way when people are starting out as influencers, they sort of pretend things have been gifted to them that haven't been.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like, so I feel we'd like to really thank Acast for having us on the platform.
Yeah, and I'm just,
Thanks to Apple Podcasts for letting us put our
on
podcast there.
my new iPhone, that was really handy of you to give me. Thanks so much.
Thanks a million. We're really, really grateful for all of you.
Yeah, hashtag bless.
Oh.
So on.